Hello and welcome back to Mining Stock Daily with me, Paul Harris. Today we're talking about copper exploration and development in Latin America. And I have great pleasure to be joined by Sarah Armstrong-Montoya, President and CEO of Cordoba Minerals. Good morning, Sarah.
Morning, Paul. How are you going? Thank you for having us.
I'm very well, but I imagine not as well as you. You've just announced a very, very good deal, 100 million investment with a Chinese company to help take forward into development and production the Alacran copper gold deposit you have in here in Cordoba in Colombia. Congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, we're extremely pleased by this. They were an existing shareholder at the public company level. So, we naturally arrived at this decision with their international experience. They're a long-term friend and of the group. It's a relationship that spans over 2 decades. And we're very excited to be able to now look at the future of the Alacran project and the expansion of the company and taking this project forward and developing a mine.
Excellent. Now, it's $100 million cash investment in 3 tranches, and you're going to form a joint venture company with them to have a 50% ownership in that joint venture company, and that company will hold the San Mateus project, the Alacran deposit. Could you tell us a little bit more about the deal structure and terms, please?
Sure, no problem. So actually the joint venture company already exists, and that does hold the Alacran deposit at the moment, and the other satellite pits form part of this transaction, and they're being transferred into that. The first payment is for $40 million, which is on closing. So we did sign yesterday, but this deal is subject to both Chinese regulatory approvals and TSXV regulatory approvals. So we expect to have those probably around the end of February, and that this deal will be closed. So the $40 million is the first payment that's on closing, although we do get a $10 million bridge loan, which will be offset against that $40 million, and that should come through by the end of December. That's also subject to shareholder approval in China. The second payment that comes is another $40 million payment. That is payable when we get board approval. That's our Cordoba publicly listed company board approval on the current feasibility study that we're doing, and the filing of our environmental impact assessment here in Colombia. And then the third and final payment for $20 million is due and payable on the approval of the EIA. At that point, if we have that approved, it is a time limit on that of 2 years, and that JCHX will be obligated to make that $20 million payment. If we don't have the EIA approved in that 2-year time frame, then it's at their election whether or not they pay that $20 million. And if not, they then get reduced down to a 40% interest in the project. And so we would have 60% at that project level.
Thank you, Sarah. Now, in the CEO, there's a comment from JCHX Chair Huang Shangqing. He said, talked about a formidable female CEO. Did you beat him up a lot on the price?
I tried, but I think, given the state where of the markets at the moment, our share price has been pretty low. I think this is it's a great price. For this project and the stage of where we're at, and so I think this is an excellent opportunity for both companies here to further our relationship.
Okay, now a key force behind the company is obviously Robert Friedland, and Robert's got a relationship with JCHX going back, as you say, a number of years. I imagine he was very pleased that you've got this deal over the line and brought this investment into the company.
Absolutely. Our signing ceremony for this, Paul, was yesterday at 3 a.m. here in Colombia. I was in Asia for the last couple of weeks negotiating, and so we had the signing ceremony yesterday. Robert was present at the signing ceremony, and as I mentioned, the relationship with the group does go back to sort of OT days in Mongolia, and they are currently working with us at Cu-Au. And so it's a very long-term relationship between JCHX and Robert, and a very long-term friendship. And so this was sort of a natural progression here, and he's very happy with the deal.
Okay, thank you, Sarah. Now, in terms of short-term financial aspects, you recently got a sort of a short-term loan or bridge loan from Ivanhoe Electric. So will the 10 million bridge loan you're going to get from JCHX, will that repay that, or will that repayment come when you get the 40 million tranche in later in the first quarter?
Yeah, so actually of the $10 million bridge loan, 2.5 million will go back to the money that we currently owe Ivanhoe Electric. The other 7.5 will come to us, and so that will take us between when we get that money and closing of the deal, which I said is the end of February. And then out of that first payment of $40 million, we'll pay back the rest of the money that we've loaned from Ivanhoe Electric. Now that we can actually talk about the deal and it's been announced, this has been some time in the works, and that's the reason why Ivanhoe Electric was bridging us to be able to continue with the feasibility study and the EIA work.
Okay, thank you. Now, in terms of the feasibility study, you mentioned that's underway. What are the key things coming up there, or key milestones next year?
Well, look, we have now completed about 25,000 meters of the 42,000 meter drill program. So we are advancing very well. We've still got further sort of geotech and other drilling to be doing, but most of the a large chunk of the infill drilling has been done. We still are on track to be completing that this year. Sorry, next year. We're coming into 2023. We still are on track to be completing that in 2023 and filing our EIA. And we have done some further trade-off studies. So I think early in next year we could expect to have some notice on those results of those trade-off studies, and if there's going to be any modifications to what we've previously announced. But we are on track to presenting both of those studies next year.
Thank you. Now, regarding filing the EIA, the Environmental Impact Assessment, I think I'm correct in saying Cordoba will be the first company to file an EIA under the new government, the Gustavo Petro government. The government's expressed support and interest in developing the copper sector, so that's a positive. But as you go into the sort of environmental permitting process, what kind of noises or signals are you getting from the government? You know, what do they want to see?
Look, to be honest, we've had very positive contact and very positive comments from the new government in respect of our project. They are very positive on copper. It does form part of their just transitional energy cause that they're all very focused on. And so we've identified, and I think it's they've spoken a lot about what is important in respect of sort of communities and social aspect and environmental impact with these projects. And so our idea is to continue working with them and strengthening this relationship to be able to file that next year. But we have had some preliminary meetings and they've been very positive. So for us so far, I think that we've had great support and we've been received well by the new government.
Okay, thank you. Now, as and when the project comes towards the construction stage, the financing stage, will that be 50-50% sort of pro rata? Cordoba puts up 50% of the money, JCHX puts up 50%?
Yeah, so I mean, these $100 million really will get us through to construction or sort of the start of construction to get us through, to finish the feasibility study, the EIA, detailed design, make an investment decision and get us there. It is a 50-50 joint venture. So at the time that it comes into construction financing, we haven't really thought about what type of financing, that would look like, but obviously being a 50-50 joint venture, we would each be responsible for our pro rata interest there.
Excellent. Well, congratulations, Sarah. It looks like you've got a busy year ahead of you and a very positive year ahead of you. Cordoba Minerals trades on the TSXV under CDB and on the OTCQB under CDBMF. Sarah Armstrong-Montoya, thank you very much for joining us today.
Thank you, Paul. Have a nice day.
And that's all from me, Paul Harris. Stay tuned for more from Mining Stock Daily.